Clinton, Conway, speaking and exposing corruption each and every day. Yeah, 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 yeah. Guyanese, turn on your TV and go to YouTube and listen to what Parslow and Conway to say. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whole day we are calling for Parslow and Clinton Conway. They teach and educating, exposing the things in the system. We need a better Guyana for the little boys and the children poor. Slow and Clinton Conway.
All the money they invest, 2.2 billion.
Hear me when I sing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh.
And they would have gotten
Guyanese at home and abroad. Please log into Conway as wide as it can reach. Paul Slow, you always will preach. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like and share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so this message could reach as far, and every Guyanese will feel well. Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Paul Slow and Clinton Conway. Paul and Conway, every day.
I pray, oh Lord, to face another day. Oh, Lord, give me strength to face another day. Carry on life's road, carry on my load. Give me strength, oh Jah, to carry on. Oh, my.
President, good morning, one and all. Good Wednesday morning, one and all. Welcome to the Wednesday's episode of Speaking Out, Explosion, Corruption, and Incompetence. Welcome. Hope you had a restful night. Hope you're looking forward to a rewarding and productive rest of the week, rest of the month, rest of the year, rest of your life. Hope you are doing very, very well. So welcome, one and all. Like and share, hit the notification button, hear the song, what the song said. So welcome. Today, Wednesday, we're here for another episode, Wednesday the 11th day of March in the year of our Lord 2026. Great day, good to be in the land of the living. We have to give praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us to see another day, and therefore, praise and thanks to be in the land of the living. Give praise, give thanks to be in the land of the living. Another wonderful day, Wednesday, the 11th day of March. We have to give praise. We have to give thanks for being in the land of the living. We should never, ever forget that it's only because of his mercies that we are here. We have so much to tell you this morning. Lots of things are happening. Sad things. This country, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. Well, and I believe that all the things that you see with the accidents and all these things are a manifestation of the corruption in the system. We speak about corruption, incompetence. And when you see all of these things that are happening, I believe it's a manifestation, it's an indication of all the incompetence, all the corruption that is in the system. But we're going to talk about it. We have so much. My colleague, Mr. Conway, is already in the studio. He's waiting, ready, rearing to come and give you valuable, credible information. As we have said to you repeatedly, by now you know, especially the regular students, know that if you want credible, valuable information, this is where you have to come. Speaking Out, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Monday at 11 o'clock. The time is now the same, New York, Guyana, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Friday. And we bring you credible information. We bring you credible, valuable information. So yes, we're going to share, and we invite you to share what? And hit the notification button. Well, now the notification, give me a thumbs up, man. Give us our thumbs up. When we open the gates were open at 9. And, you know, it's amazing the number of students who only line up and waiting to get into the schoolyard when the gates are open, or as some people say, when the program are scheduled, 9 o'clock in the morning. And so what we're going to do, as we have been doing, we will acknowledge those who came in early. We'll give recognition to those who came very early. And then we are going to move straight into the meat of the thing. Listed as number one because many persons came in at 9, but it is listed in this order. Ian Lucius listed at number 1. Then we have Janella Gebo. Ulrich from West Dem is here with us early. Barbara. Carl Johnson. Danny is here. Ricky Smith. Felicia. Jacko from Georgia. Peter. Marcia. Desiree, and Desiree is also from Georgia. Winston, all the way from California. Then it was Grantley, Dorette, Earl, Wayne, Rawl. Rawl, the younger catch this morning, Rawl said on the last occasion he was caught because he did not recognize the time change, and therefore he came on at 12 o'clock Guyana time, but 11 o'clock was the start time. Anthony from Peters Hall on the east bank of Demerara. Then we have Clarence, Fergus, Carlton, my squad mate, 9430, Moses. Then it was Randolph, 12-538, Clifton, all the way from Paris, Siobhan, Brian, Dexter, Puran from the Essequibo Coast, Evelyn, Jakey is here very early, Vashti, Rosalind, Courtney, Wayne, and Wayne is from New Jersey. He always says that he's from New Jersey. Ivor from Georgia, Mary, Mark, Orin from the UK. Then it was Aubrey from Canada, Bonita. Then it was Emerson, Sean came in and vibrated. All those persons came within the first minute of the door opening. And then when the doors were open, let me see how you stacked up, how they came in. We have hundreds on already, hundreds on. And we thank you for your attendance. We thank you for your contribution to this program. You're the ones who inspire us to come and to make sure we bring you credible, valuable information. Lennox came early. He's a Facebooker. Junior. Then it was Edward Charles. You're getting beat out, Edward. Steady this time. Colvis. Rosie Rose. Then it was Nicola. Lorelli. Simone. Pam. Then it was, who else? Lynette. Joan from New Amsterdam. Peters or Brian, whoever it is. Leon is here. 78, 9778, Leon Simon. These people are Carlton Popo is here early as well as usual. And then the list goes on, So welcome to you. Let me make the announcements and then we're going to bring Mr. Conway in and we're going to rock and roll. Now, for terms of announcement, we said we make the sad ones first. And Sergeant Vaughn 727 days since he was shot and killed. Police Sergeant Alex Vaughn shot and killed on duty. Almost 2 years now, and you're not hearing anything. Almost 2 years, right? He was shot and killed on the 12th of March. 12th of March. So actually today should be 2 years. Actually today should be 2 years because he was shot on the 12th of March. Today gonna complete 2 tomorrow. New Year start on the 12th of March 2024. 12th of March 2024, and the police are not telling anyone anything apart from the initial report. Can you imagine that? Police sergeant shot and killed whilst on duty. That is what they told us. And since then, they have gone silent. They have gone silent since then. Imagine that 2 years have passed since, and they have gone silent. You know? And even the family members, because as I said, I met a family member not so long ago, and they were expressing the disappointment that the police have not kept them abreast of what investigation is going on. That is the level of unprofessionalism that you have. That is the level. And don't forget that this type of unprofessionalism is rewarded, so there's no need to be professional. They don't even recognize perhaps what is professionalism. And then we told you too about the death of the wife of a former member, Ilman Trimble. We used to call it Trimble. 10-1-17, his wife died, and reminding you that the memorial service will be on Friday, the 13th, from 2 to 7 p.m. at the Episcopal Church, 1642 Farmers Boulevard, St. Albans, New York. And then there will be a repast after, and there's an indication the body will be taken to Guyana for burial. We will keep you abreast of the wife of a former member passed, and we recognize, we announce these things on this program. We also told you of the death of the former Commissioner General of GRA, Mr. Edgar Elliger. We haven't gotten any further word about his funeral. And like everything else, in this place, man chopped to death across the river, some altercation, man chopped and killed, man was chopped to death. And oh my Lord, we were here on Monday. I think we reported on 1 or 2 fatal accidents. Again, we're gonna come to it in a short while. They get motorcyclists or Chinese national killed in accident. Then yesterday we reported a motorcyclist, 16-year-old motorcyclist killed, and the pillion rider is critical. And just before we come on the program this morning, it has been reported of another fatal accident on the Linden-Suzik Highway. One man is dead. We're going to address that in a little bit more detail as we go along. And we hear 2 persons are missing after a molasses tanker sank on the east coast of Buxton. Sank. 2 persons are missing in that. And then I learned too of the death. People of my age who attended Bedford-Walkton Primary School back in the 60s would maybe remember our teacher from Buxton, Donald Thomas. He was called DT. Donald Thomas, I read a few days ago that he passed recently. I think he was already buried. One of my schoolmates made the announcement on social media. And I was sad because I remember Donald Thomas very well. He was there as a young teacher along with Keith Scott. Yeah, Keith and Donald were the two young men at Bedford-Walkton Primary. And DT had a reputation as a licksman. He used to beat you if you do, them days, the bench you and so on. Yeah, so Donald Thomas is dead. And so we wish to make that those announcements. And then we're going to come back to some other, because I recognize too, in going through the records, that yesterday was the death anniversary of Courtney Crummy-Wing. Courtney Crummy-Wing, referred to political activist, was shot and killed in Diamond back in 2015, I think it was, March 10, 2015. We're going to tell some people, because I got to keep these things, keep reminding, because some of them go around pretending that they are angels. And they were associated, they were alleged to be associated, and many of them were associated with all kind of ungodly acts. So we're going to tell you something a little bit more about Courtney Cramiming's death. We're going to talk about it. You can't let these things go just like that. Then let me give you some of the more pleasant announcements, and then I'm going to bring in CC. Birthday greetings today. Birthday greetings to retired Woman Superintendent Carol Trotz. Carol Trotz is observing a birth anniversary today. You know, when I was commander a division there for a long period of time, Carol, for a period, she was head of the registry. Excellent, competent person. Then I know she went to immigration at some stage and so on. But Carol is observing a birth anniversary today. Also observing a birth anniversary today is former member Charles Brown. Charles Brown, I can't remember his number, but he's observing a birth anniversary today. And we have former Sergeant William Jones. William Jones, his number was 11459. Jonesy is observing a birth anniversary today. And in terms of belated birthday greetings, a student, Princess Earl, 6123, observed recently. Gary Barrow used to be at the transport workshop there for a number of years. I think he used to bowl a little fun thing in the cricket. 10096, I think, was Barrow's number, 10096. He too observed a birthday recently. I understand that he had some health challenges and so on. Wish you well, Gary. And then another former member, female member, Lauren Peters. She used to be, I remember, 2IC Ops office there. Pito was what? 13, I think 13751. I think that was our regulation number, 13751. I getting old and I can't remember all of these numbers now, but I think that was Peter's number. A UG classmate of mine celebrated ours yesterday too. Lynette Thompson Barker. She celebrated recently. And a countryman and a former member, Ted Mitchell, Teddy Ranks, born from Shadow Valley. Ted celebrated a birth anniversary recently as well. In terms of advanced birthday greetings, going out to the great, I call him the great, Francis Kwamina Faria, poet, playwright, also a dramatist. Francis is observing, we used to call FQF, is observing a birth anniversary soon, and also a student. We're talking about Lorraine Joseph, called Faye. She too is observing a birth anniversary shortly. So, first of all, let me go back. Condolences to all the relatives and friends of those deceased persons. Wish that the good Lord will give you the strength to carry on through this difficult time. And congratulations to all those who are observing birth anniversaries today, who observed recently, and who are observing in the near future. We have so much to talk, so much more to talk about. But let me bring in CC to give you his welcoming and opening remarks. CC, welcome.
Good morning. Thank the Lord, we are all in the land of the living to do God's work. Yes, 2 years have passed. Sergeant Vaughn, apart from the initial report you mentioned, Paul, no other report, no other update, none whatsoever. They own Sergeant Vaughn. And let me say my deepest sympathy to members of the bereaved family, those persons who passed away. Birthday greetings, Carol Trotz. I know Carol well through her husband, the late Assistant Commissioner Milton Trotz was my buddy, was my partner, and I got to know Carol well. I had another partner named Michael Harlequin, so it was Trotz, Conway, and Harlequin. We did a whole lot of things together. So Carol, happy birthday. I hope you really will enjoy it. And then you mentioned Lorraine Joseph. Happy birthday to you, Faith. I think tomorrow is your birthday. And I always remember you and your two sisters, Jean. Your two sisters. When I went to Mycone in 73, we all became friends and we still maintain the relationship. I know you all are all Americans, but Guyanese, American citizens, but Guyanese to the bone. So continue to enjoy God's health, strength. And I always remember my Coney, I have some friends there over 50 years ago. Men like Albino, Solomon, and Roy Hercules. Very good friends, since I was a little constable, and we have maintained that relationship. So we have lots more to talk about, so let's get on with it.
Yeah, and somebody's reminding or informing us that today is the birth anniversary of a student, Marlon Thomas. Marlon is observing a birth anniversary today. Hold on. Observing a birth anniversary today. And we spoke about Carol, and one of the students saying is the best supervisor he has had. Best supervisor. Those are compliments that are noteworthy. Are noteworthy. So, before we go back to the accidents and all of these things coming wings there, let me remind you that cricket, after the West Indies exited the tournament, the war in Iran started, and they left stranded in India because of flight problems and so on. The ICC was to charter flight to move the West Indian and the South Africans out of India, but something happened when I read this morning where West Indies has decided to make their own arrangements with commercial flights to get them out. Well, I mentioned this because I saw a comment on social media. Some people can be very insensitive. One man commented on social media that these are the same people who will go to India and spend months in IPL and now to spend a few extra days, they make it nice and so on. This is somebody who has perhaps never traveled and never experienced these things. I can tell you, as one who traveled extensively many times with that team and other travels and so on. But if you get an opportunity sometimes to spend a day or two with your family, you're in transit to some other tournament, that means so much to you, especially if you have small children. Especially, I know people who just say, well, look, carry me to this destination for one day so they can see my children. I can be with my family for that 24 hours and then move on. They don't understand it. They don't understand that. So if a player or even a staff, right, is stranded, it is very, very stressful. It is very stressful. So I could understand how those players feel. You're there, you're not training, you're not taking part, you're just there in the hotel somewhere eating and thinking around and so on. People want to get home to their family. So when you see those insensitive comments, you just got to call them out, call them out. Yes, the players have a right to be disappointed that immediately after the tour finished, they weren't taken to their respective destinations, because it means a lot to people. I can tell you this. I have had situations where I just to be with my family for a day. I say, well, yes, I can go one day and then you move on. Because sometimes you're on tour for weeks and months. And if you have children, you have small children in particular, it means quite a lot. It means quite a lot. So y'all stop with this insensitive nonsense, right? And I can't remember if I told y'all I had court last Monday. Last Monday I went to court in this anonymity matter called, just to update you in as much as I can say. What happened is that my lawyers had made certain submissions, written submissions, and the prosecution had asked to time to respond to those submissions. And on Monday, they presented the written submissions to the court, and the magistrate the magistrate indicated that she needs time to study the submissions, and therefore the matter is adjourned to April the 14th. That's next month, the 14th, when the magistrate is expected to give a decision on the submissions. You got to understand, I got to walk you all through these things, The magistrate will give a decision on the submission. But this matter even got to the stage of trial or anything like that. But the magistrate will give our decisions, or our decision on the submissions that were made, that is the submissions made by my lawyer or by my lawyers, and the response from the prosecution. That is just to bring you up to date with that. Now, let me tell you something something, you know. I witnessed an incident this morning which I feel compelled to talk about. It warmed my heart this morning. It warmed my heart. This is about maybe 9 o'clock. No, after 9 o'clock. 9:30, there about 10 o'clock. A vehicle traveling on a road, a small road in BV, attempted to make a turn on a bridge. And the woman, an Indian, or as they would say, a Guyanese of Indian descent, she was driving. Apparently, it's a van, but it's a G van, which is goods. The back is encased, and like fish. I know she's transporting fish or what. But she misaveraged, and the left rear wheel ran off the bridge. And the ridge of the bridge there prevented her from moving the vehicle forward. So she tried, she couldn't get through. You know what warmed my heart? People turned out to help her. People turned out to help. People got rope, they got jack, they got all type of things. I went there to assist her, the Indian woman. And the people who turned out to help her were black people or Guyanese of African descent. And I looked at it warmed my heart because I say it's only the politicians at certain times trying to divide us and get us against each other. This is an Indian woman driving this vehicle. And at the end, she was so emotional and thankful to all for the assistance she got. It took maybe an hour to free the vehicle and so on. People come out, young men, people that's so young, give advice, help push. When it can't work, people went and get jack to jack up the vehicle and bring rope and things to pull that vehicle out. I said, we still have a lot of good in this country. Despite what the politicians and them would want us to believe, we still have a lot of good. And as I've said, when I saw that, my heart was warmed to recognize that we still have people who forget about all the politics and people who try to preach race hate and all this other thing. At the end of the day, people are good people. And I want to compliment all of those, including myself, because I went out there like a foreman, a director, advising what to do and so on. So compliments to all those young men from the village who turned out to help somebody. And hear this, I am sure, based on it, they know the person, they don't know this woman, you know. They don't know the woman, but they saw someone in some distress. They saw someone in distress, and they went out to give assistance. They never even considered the ethnicity or the race of that person. Kudos to them. Kudos to them. Right? Now, let me tell you about a few other things before bringing CC. Let me remind you too about daylight saving time. Daylight saving time, right? So the Eastern Standard Time and Ghana time are one and the same. So don't forget that. Don't forget that. And we're still in the month of Ramadan. So to our Muslim brothers and sisters, we wish you all the best during this period when you are observing your holy month of Ramadan. And for those Christian brothers who are observing the Lenten period, I wish you well as I hope that all your sacrifices are rewarded. Let me bring in CC at this stage to continue. CC, welcome again, man. You know, as I said, the cricketer is stranded. And as I said, that incident this morning really warmed my heart. And I said, you got to come and talk about it because people will try to give the impression that the races or the ethnicities are at war. But is the politicians portraying certain things, man? They're discriminating and they're causing people to feel a certain way. But when I saw that thing there this morning, I felt good, man. I felt good. Go ahead.
I didn't see it, but you narrated, and I also feel good about it, you know. The thing is that the politicians, you know, are most time coming down to election time, they want to divide and rule or divide us. But we're all one. As I say, I grew up among Indians in Britannia, West Coast, Barbados. For the matter, my grandfather was a Muslim and my grandmother was a Christian, you know, and we all grew up together, you know. So I'm happy that, you know, we still have good people around who could reach out to others despite the race or color of the skin, you know, and we need to continue doing so. And even this morning, you know, I was downtown about 10 o'clock this morning doing a bit of shopping, And there was a woman passed with a car and said, Cece, you supposed to be in the studio. What you doing here? Come and let me drop you home or drop you in the studio. I said, man, I'm gonna find me home. Don't bother with it, you know. But the thing is that we always make an effort to ensure that we keep this program going all the time. And I have to tell you, I used to travel several countries I went to, and I could tell you when time to go home, it's time to go home. I'll miss home when I want to. When I'm programmed to travel, I remember I went in the States, I spent a whole lot of time there, experienced Thanksgiving and all kind of thing. And I decided to travel home Christmas Eve day. Men say, hey, stay and spend Christmas with us. I spend a whole lot of time here. I must be home for Christmas. I must be home with my children and my grandchildren. So I could feel it for the West Indian players. They were away, they performed reasonably well. And when time to get home, they get stranded. They gotta feel it. They gotta feel it. And I know some of them are very committed to their family, you know. So when it's time to get home, it's time to get home to be with your family, to be with your loved ones.
Yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you all the experience I had, and people couldn't understand. I went to shoot with the national team in Antigua and Barbuda some years ago. And my next tour of duty, a few days after, was in St. Kitts and Nevis. And some of my colleagues couldn't understand why I am traveling from Antigua and Barbuda back to Guyana for one day and then head back to St. Kitts. If you all know the geography, people say Antigua and just across the pond. I think when you go with Liat in those days, it's like about 15 to 20 minutes flight. They can't understand, so I say, hey, I got to go home for this one day. Yeah? I am traveling back from Antigua and Barbuda to Guyana, and then I'm going to travel back from Guyana to St. Kitts and Nevis to work. And they couldn't understand it. But when you tour a lot, when you travel a lot, you will come to appreciate how important it is. And as I said, especially if you have small children. If you have small children, for them to come home, despite the fact you get FaceTime and WhatsApp, nothing can replace that intimate interpersonal interaction with you and your children. So let me understand it clearly. Now, we spoke about these accidents, right? We spoke about the accidents. They say a Chinese national killed in Greenfield accident. A 44-year-old Chinese national died Tuesday morning, yesterday morning, after the electric cycle she was riding collided with a car at Greenfield Road, East Bank, Demerara, right? The dead woman has been identified as Jin Wen of Providence, East Bank, Demerara. This newscast understands that the accident occurred about 7:46 a.m. along the northern carriageway of Greenfield Road and involved motor car PL 7939 and an unregistered electric cycle ridden by Wen. Reports featuring this newscast indicate that the motor car was proceeding east along the southern driving lane of the northern carriageway at a fast rate of speed while Wen was traveling west along the southern side of the road. According to reports, the cyclist allegedly turned to the north in an attempt to cross the northern carriageway, but ended up in the path of the approaching car. The vehicle collided with the cyclist, the electric cycle causing Wen to fall in the roadway, sustained severe head injuries and head and body injuries. The driver was subsequently arrested and taken to Providence Police Station and remains in police custody, assisting in the investigation. We hear nothing about breathalyzer tests. You hear nothing about that as yet. But let me say this before I move further. We maintain, and as we have been saying, the crisis on the road is a national crisis. The situation on the roads in Guyana calls for intervention, emergency intervention by the authorities, but they're not doing anything significant. Talking about the same electric cycle, if you recall, I think it was last year or sometime before the last, sometime not so long ago, Nandalal, the Attorney General, SC, MP, told the nation, or they went to Parliament and they passed laws to deal with these electric bikes. That they must be registered, they have to have insurance, the riders must wear safety helmets, all kind of things they tell us. Go around the country and see what is going on. Go around. You see children. But I said children, I ain't talking about teenage children, even younger children riding. Helmet, nobody rides with even the big bikes, nobody rides with any helmet and so on. And that is the point. That reinforces the point that we're making. Run around the place, telling you that you're tweaking legislation here and tweaking legislation here, ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. This thing requires a holistic, comprehensive approach to every aspect concerning the road. But they're telling us it's an unregistered electric cycle. And remember the last time it was registered? How many similar unregistered electric cycles we have riding around the place? How many? I believe you have them maybe in the hundreds across the country. And what are they doing? Absolutely nothing. You might hear about some campaign and that. That is what is going on. That is what is going on. But it is sad. It is sad. So this Chinese national lost her life on the road yesterday morning. And then we have to, let me tell you our next one. This is reported in today's Starbuck News. Motorcyclist killed, motorcyclist 16 dies. The pillion rider is critical. And it says here, police are investigating an accident which occurred on Monday on the Barnwell Public Road, East Bank, Essequibo, that caused the death of a motorcyclist. The accident, which happened at about 19:20 hours, involved minibus BAG 2484, driven by a 58-year-old man of Edinburgh, West Coast, Demerara. Warning right away. Warning your name. Yeah, you no name. They mention no name. And a motorcycle, CR487, ridden by the man is Angel Manchan, deceased, a 16-year-old of Ruby Back, East Bank, Essequibo, with a 19-year-old pillion rider of Cornelia Ida, West Coast, Demerara. Preliminary investigation revealed that the minibus was proceeding east along the Barnwell Public Road at a normal rate of speed when the motorcyclist, which was proceeding west along the southern side of the road at an allegedly fast rate, ended up in the northern side of the roadway and collided with the right side front portion of the minibus. The motorcyclists and pillion riders were reportedly not wearing safety helmets at the time. As a result of the collision, the motorcyclists and pillion rider were thrown from the motorcycle and landed in a yard on the southern side of the road. They were picked up in an unconscious but stable unconscious state by public spirited citizens that rushed to the Kendron Regional Hospital, where the motorcyclist was pronounced dead on arrival. The pillion rider is presently in the emergency unit, and his condition is regarded as critical. Then they tell the bodyguard, it's madness. Madness on the roads. Madness on the roads in this country. It's a scary thing when you see all the acrobatics and all they say it's stunt. I gotta make sure I pronounce the word carefully. All the stunts that are being done, especially people riding motorcycles. Even if I pronounce the word properly, I might say that famous, uniquely Guyanese expletive, and I want to do that, right? But it's madness. You go and you see the craziness on the roads. The craziness you see on the roads is alarming. It is indeed very, very alarming. And what is even more alarming is the fact that the people who are responsible for making sure that things are put in place and these things are dealt with, they're going to tell you, but they go into some rum shop and they do some lecture. That is the extent of their involvement, their interaction. And then before I bring in Mr. Conway, only this morning, look, this is one on the Linden Suzik Highway. Let me caution you with this one. Viewer discussion is advised. We gotta bring these things, It's not being insensitive, but it's to make sure that the gravity of this situation is brought to the attention of the authorities and the public. Look what happened. Look, this is this morning.
Sure, boy.
All right, I taking
Oh
it.
my God.
This-
This woman?
This is a still picture of that accident. Again, viewer discretion is advised. Still picture. We can see from the wreckage, as we saw with the one where the man went into the roundabout. Speeding seems to have been a contributory factor. And I'm saying contributory factor because the problem with the police, the traffic chief, or somebody going to come out with a statement and tell you, oh, speeding was the cause. How do you know that speeding alone was the cause? Do you do the type of investigation to determine if speeding was merely one of the many factors? They don't. They don't. They come out with this glib thing, oh, you did speeding. You didn't pay attention. But these things require proper investigation to identify all the factors that may have resulted in this accident, but they don't do that. Tell us speeding is good because from the evidence there, given how this vehicle is mangled, yeah, speeding must have been a factor. But was that the only factor that resulted in the accident? Was there any, you check the area, is there any engineering concern, unevenness of the road, loose gravel, some big hole he might have tried to avoid? Because this is a car and a truck. Do they check to see if he was under the influence of drugs or any other substance? Do they do these things? Do they do this? They don't. And I'm saying that unless you and until you do that, you're not going to understand what is really causing these problems. Would you check to see how the person acquired his driver's license? What type of training that person has? That is part of the big problem that we have. And again, condolences to the relatives and friends of those persons. I don't think the person has been identified by name as yet, but condolences. And I've said we're not being insensitive by showing these things, but you got to see this is the reality that we face. Let me bring in CC for him to make his comment on that. CC, go ahead.
Those electric cycles, they pass the law, but they're not enforced. Remember, they said that you got to get driver's license, you got to register them, and all sort of things. Yesterday, I took my grandson, 11 years old, to school, and there it is, his classmates going to school, driving in the school compound with those electric bicycles. I saw about 6 of them enter the schoolyard there with those electric bicycles. What really we doing? I'm talking about 11 years old, 10 years old. Nothing but it. We spoke over and over ago about that Linden Highway. The traffic chief say get system in place, you get arrangements in place, and things continue to happen. Paul, you mentioned, what about it? Did they check to see the condition of the road? Did they check to see how that man obtained his driver license? Or they're waiting for the president to disclose go into his triangulated data and tell you whether or not that guy got his license through corruption? There are so many things that we gotta look at, and then I'm gonna be presumptuous enough to say that when this PPP is in government, 3 things you gotta expect: plenty deaths, whether on the road, whether it's murder, whether it's suicide, drugs, endless amount of drugs and fire. Death, drugs, and fire. That is what has happened when this PPP is in government. I'm saying you get plenty drugs, you get plenty deaths, and you get plenty fire.
Yeah. And when you think the tragedy ended there, no, it's been reported where 2 persons are missing after a molasses tanker sank off the East Coast, right? It says a molasses barge sink off the East Coast at approximately 1 hour. The Maritime Administration Department received a distress signal concerning the sinking of a barge, right? Trader 3, approximately 9.5 nautical miles off Buxton on the east coast of Delaware. At the time of the incident, the barge was engaged in the transport of a cargo of molasses from Barbados to Georgetown. The crew members are reported missing. Immediately upon receipt of the distress communication, emergency response operations were activated to search for the missing persons. We haven't heard anything yet. We haven't heard anything yet, so maybe missing, presumed dead. Hope, against hope that there's some miracle and those persons will be found alive. But it's tragedy after tragedy. Tragedy after tragedy you have going on. Tragedy after tragedy. And it is extremely, extremely sad because persons die. Sometimes they're the sole breadwinner for the family. The whole family life of the survivors are disrupted. And then, depending on what happens, sometimes, Guyana, you can't think even about insurance and all them type of thing. Can't even go down that road because even if there is insurance, what amount you want to talk about? What amount? Again, you got to call on the authorities to look into this thing. Let me show you part of the, well, as I said, lawlessness. Look at this one. And now you don't laugh. Look at this one.
We are a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces, from foreign places, talk about taking over, we ain't backing down.
You know what you saw there, just now?
We are a peaceful people.
You saw there? A minibus taking a turn. The conductor fall out. The conductor, let me show you. There's a minibus pull off, taking a right turn. The conductor, you know, there's hanging at the edge.
We are a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces, from foreign places, talk about taking over, we ain't backing down.
Luckily, he wasn't run over. But why would a bus be in motion and the door open? You see, all of these are things that have to be addressed. The bus is moving off. The door is open. The conductor in some precarious position, he falls out. Suppose a truck or some other vehicle was coming in, you crush another accident. And those are some of the things that we're talking about. And that is why we say is almost everything that can go wrong do go wrong. Everything. People don't care, lawlessness. And that is why we continue to say, I continue to say, that this is a lawless culture. And I will remind them that the culture is not easy to change. I think the first thing you have to do is to show that you have the will, the political and other will to implement changes, because some of these things might not be politically nice. So they're looking, well, by now you shouldn't be looking for vote. You don't get your vote and your thing. This is the time you have to make sure that strong measures are put in place. Even we reported on Monday that the uncle of the president died in an accident. He lost control, run off. Culture, I would think that may, if that does not serve as a catalyst to make sure that things are implemented, better arrangements are put in place. I don't know what they will. I don't know what will cause them to make sure, as I've said, a comprehensive change. Comprehensive change. And then look at this one too. Look at this one. All of these things we're talking about. Look at this. That is the concussion highway. Whole order cattle sleeping there on the highway. What are the authorities doing? I want to talk about the authorities here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the police alone, because I have said repeatedly, a lot of this problem is not police problem, you know. They seem to believe, the commissioner, the traffic chief, and them believe that, oh, this is a police problem. This thing has gone beyond just a police problem. It is a national crisis and requires intervention, sensible intervention at very senior, the most senior level, cabinet level, and needs to intervene to come up with policies to deal with this thing, come up with proper legislation to deal with issues like this. Animals grazing, somebody driving, coming out. and you're not as observant that you ought to be, is an accident. Cows on the road. And then you might be lucky, or you remember they had an accident some time ago across the river. I remember that very well. And then one was quarantine, and the police patrol turned up, and the men turned to butchers. Butcher, remember the one in the quarantine, the man on the 19 road there, vehicle got involved in an accident and decided to go, and they wanted to get the brand to make. When the thing that the police there with police their cutlass and so on, man, police gone to butchery work, right? Gone to do butchery work. We saw two such things. But these things, because the NDC, if I remember correctly in the law, the Neighborhood Democratic Council has a statutory responsibility to deal with animals roaming on the road. They have that. But what happened? When Roy, the goat man Roy was there, they had a unit. They had modified some trucks, and they had a unit for a period of time. Retired Assistant Commissioner Ovid Glasgow headed that unit, where they go and they rounded up animals on the roadway and so on. All them things fall through. It's a lot of stop-start thing. This is the problem. Nothing is sustained. Nothing is sustained, and therefore, after a while, back to square one. Back to square one. That is what you have. Let me bring in CC to comment on this part. We get some things more to talk about the about what's going on in the accident too. But let me give CC an opportunity to intervene now. CC, go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, just getting back to this molasses boat, I would call it, that sank, and you can't hear anything about the crew. I wonder, why they're not enforcing this occupation, safety, and health law. I wonder if they had any life jackets there. I wonder if they had anything that in case, the boat sank, that you could survive for a while, hold on to something. But I wonder what's going on. That they're not looking at occupation, safety, and health. Boats going out there and nobody checking them to make sure that they have proper equipment there. Safety equipment. Now the animals. There's a charge, we used to charge people suffering animals to stray. Suffering animals to stray. Watch the animals on the Concoction Highway. They're sleeping there. Find proper pasture for the animals. Find proper pasture for the animals. Suffering animals to stray. Well, police can say there's the issue, there's nothing. But they need to ensure that you have proper pastures for animals, so that they won't stray about the place and then sleeping on the highway and all kind of thing, They need to think, and I'm saying not only on the sea, but we need to enforce the Occupation Safety and Health Act. It talks about occupation, safety, and health, that in case something happens, the safety of the persons is critical, But nothing is really is being done, So things, the lawlessness will continue.
Now, I see one of the students made a comment here that the police force needs a cattle roundup squad. No. A police force, you're showing all them thing on police force. You have neighborhood democratic councils. We used to call them village council in the past. Used to employ rangers and all these people to round up cattle and all this. That is what you got to do. Not the police to get involved in that. That is not for the police to get involved. It's for the neighborhood democratic councils to get involved. Maybe even the Ministry of Agriculture to get involved in getting these animals off the road, because it's dangerous. So I don't put more burden on the police force that already have demonstrated that they're incapable of doing what the little things they have to do, right? Now, we have been telling you here for some time now, stay on the same road problems and so on. I read an article here, let me read it for you, which says, truck driver disqualified pending case. A truck driver was disqualified pending case. We need to be teaching, and we need to tell you what the law is, right? Now, hear what it says. A 26-year-old truck driver has been disqualified from driving a motor lorry pending the outcome of a dangerous driving charge. They say Umdat Dindial of Nomprel and Aslington, East Coast, Demerara, was granted $100,000 bail when he appeared before senior magistrate at the Sparndam Magistrate Court today. Well, not today, that was, I think, was 2 days ago. Hold on, let me get the article to read. The charge stemmed from an incident on January the 20th. The court also ordered that Dindial be disqualified from driving a motor lorry with immediate effect until the matter is concluded. The prosecution successfully applied for the suspension after the defense informed the court that the defendant had a previous conviction for careless driving. Police are advising ranks and members of the public to take note of the court's ruling. Now, I find a lot of things very interesting here. First of all, as we have said before repeatedly, and as the law says, not Slow and Conway said, the law, a magistrate does not have the authority to suspend a driver's license. And don't get mixed up with suspension and disqualification. They are two different things in the law. A suspension, let me go back. We have said it before, but we get new students, and I hope they will convey this to the prosecutor and all these people. And this is unless, I don't know that they changed the law. The law, the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act that I know of, says that the person suspension, let me deal with suspension first. A suspension can only take place if the person is charged with causing death by dangerous driving, or the reckless driving. It stipulates in the law, suspension. And if you, once you're charged for those offenses, and if you're suspended, the person who has to do the suspension is the licensing authority, who is the Minister of Home Affairs. The procedure is, a recommendation is made, the DPP gets involved, and the DPP advises the licensing authority to suspend the license. And a license is suspended for an indefinite period because the license is suspended until the outcome of the charge. So let me understand this thing clearly. When a license is suspended by the licensing authority, it is stated that the suspension is pending the determination of the charge, suspension. Now let's talk about disqualification, which is something different. You're charged for other traffic offenses, the magistrate can disqualify you from holding or obtaining for a specific period. Let me go back there. While a suspension is basically indefinite until the outcome of the charge, when it comes to disqualification, a disqualification is for a specific period. The magistrate will disqualify you from holding or obtaining for 6 months, 1 year, whatever period, but it is a specific period. Magistrate has no authority to suspend, or sorry, to disqualify pending the outcome of the charge. And that is part of the problem we have. The people who should be dealing with the law and all of that, they are not perhaps au fait with how the law is to be applied. They are not au fait, and if you're not au fait, you do a lot of, as we said, nonsenseness and bring the whole system into disrepute. But it says here that the only good thing I see out of this, what they call disqualification, is from that particular category of vehicle truck. So therefore, if the person most likely has cars and anything on the license, he can continue to drive that category because the disqualification must be, could be all, but in this case, they're saying that he's disqualified from driving a truck, right? He's disqualified from driving a motor lorry with immediate effect until the matter is concluded. Well, it's until the matter is concluded part I have problems with because they don't have any such authority. The magistrate could have disqualified him from driving a motor lorry for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever period. But the period has to be specific. Disqualification period has to be specific. And then before bringing CC, the last part is a joke. Hey, police are advising ranks and members of the public to take note of the court ruling. So basically what they tell you, you must take note that this man has been disqualified and they say suspended. It's not the same thing from driving. So you must police this thing. You, the members of the public and others must police this arrangement where this man is disqualified. You ever hear a joke like that? You ever hear a joke like that? And again, we talk about the system because what system do you have to ensure that the order, even though I believe the order is a wrong order, the order is carried out? So if this man decides he's driving a lorry now, right? What arrangement, what system? Let me say the police stop you. Let me see a driver's license. You believe the police can remember that this man, Umdat Dindial, has been disqualified? You think the police can remember that? All them enough hundreds of traffic police or policemen in general, you think they can remember that? This here only mean that if the man gets some nosy neighbor and they see driving the truck, maybe the nosy neighbor can inform the authorities, hey, that man that was disqualified, still driving. Again, it brings to the point that they are not dealing with this matter in a comprehensive way. You're not dealing with it in a comprehensive way. Because there's no system. If the police stop people on the road and say, let me see your driver's license, sir, right? And he produces his driver's license where they can plug in and immediately know, well, this man has been disqualified or suspended. That is the problem. The whole system has to be looked at. When you hear the jump up the other day talking about the merit point system and all sort of crap, you got to put proper infrastructure in place. Can't put the cart before the horse. Proper infrastructure has to be put in place, right? So, again, I agree with you, Ivor. It used to be that is why you need traffic courts. Traffic courts. Magistrates who can interpret the traffic laws and deal with the matters as the law stipulates. That is what you have to have. That is part of the problem. Part of the problem. Right? So again, the last part where they say they're asking the man, they're asking the public and the police to take note of the court's decision. So in other words, they got to police this thing. How are you going to police it? How are you going to police that? Long ago, when you had the little book, the magistrate or the clerk or the court would have written into the book what the decision is. But now you got electronic and fancy things. How you going to know? You can't write nothing on this driver's license now. You can't write nothing on the driver's license. Let me bring in CC to obviously. CC, up to now they can't understand. There's a big difference between disqualification and suspension. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we said over and over again, causing death by dangerous driving could be suspended pending the determination of the charge of the case. And it got to go through the DPP, and it is the minister who will have to give that approval. And then, when you look at it, disqualify. From what I read there, Paul, they said a magistrate disqualify the person pending the charge. The person was charged, he get convicted. Some where the magistrate get the power, he get convicted. And here's what the act say, Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, Section 30 talk about disqualification for offenses and endorsement of convictions. Talk about endorsement of convictions. Now let me read. Any court before which a person is convicted, it's a charge, a person is convicted of any criminal offense in connection with driving a motor vehicle, in bracket not being the offense under Part 3. A. May in any case expect where otherwise expressly provided by the Act, and shall where so required by the Act, order him to be disqualified from holding or obtaining a license for such period as the court may think fit. B. May in any case and shall where a person by virtue of a conviction disqualified from holding or obtaining a license, or where an order of so disqualifying any person is made, and where so required by the Act, order that particulars of the conviction and a very disqualification to which a convicted person, the entire convicted person, not person charged, has been subject shall be endorsed on any license where held by the offender. So they're talking about on conviction, the magistrate get the power. And also the magistrate got to endorse. Well, they know we endorse with the present license where they get it. We got high tech, so they can write on the driver's license. So the whole thing is that, I hope the magistrate didn't pass that order. I hope so. I hope I hope that the magistrate didn't err, and I hope that the persons who wrote the police who wrote the thing there, they misrepresented the order of the magistrate, because I can't see I get charged for careless driving or dangerous driving, and the magistrate disqualify me pending the outcome of the charge. That magistrate ain't get no power. No power. So something is wrong somewhere along the line there. That if convicted, yes, but now if you get charged, that is not in the law books.
Now, let me say this. Respond to Gabo. You're correct. Gabo is telling me that the prosecutor could ask the magistrate to impose he said disqualification. Yes, that's what we're saying. But they're getting mixed up with disqualification and suspension. Suspension is different to disqualification. As we say, the only person under the law who can suspend a driver's license is a licensing authority, who is the Minister of Home Affairs. We're talking about suspension. And the law makes the offenses to which a license can be suspended specific. Causing death by dangerous driving, and I think the third one is reckless driving. If you're charged for those three offenses, your license can be suspended pending the outcome of the charge. So that's what it says indefinite. It is pending the outcome of the charge. I believe that always going to be operationalized if the outcome is favorable to the accused or the defendant, then the suspension will be over. If it is unfavorable, then the court will decide how long the suspension will run. But suspension, I said, is indefinite. When you talk about disqualification, it is not the same. It should not be used interchangeably. A disqualification is not the same as a suspension. So let me be honest, it might have the same effect. You can't drive, but in terms of how it is operationalized and how the law caters for them, it is totally different. Which brings me to the next point that I read a few days, I think it was yesterday, where the National Road Safety Council, there's a statement from the police, some inspector, advising drivers that they must always have the physical driver's license with them at all time. Because they say that if you flash it on your phone and you show it, that might not suffice. I agree with that, because the law is you should be able to produce your license, the physical license demand. And we addressed this issue here before, because if you are going to drive, you always have to have your driver's license with you. There is no provision. Let me understand this, because I saw some comment where people are saying, oh, you got 24 hours to produce. No, you have to produce it immediately. Once the demand is made by the police, you have to produce your driver's license immediately. You have to give it to the police. Police should look at it, and the police should return it to you. Police should not be taking it and say, come to the station. No. That is not allowed. He examines the license. And here, let me tell you one of the things that the older policemen used to do. I know that. Because in order to determine, and this is a mistake a lot of drivers and so on make, end up in trouble. Police look at it, ask you, what's your name? Sometimes they might get arrogant. If they're wrong there, no. What is your name? You have an obligation to say, my name is John Jones. What is your address? Your address, you got to tell you the address. Because the policeman is now verifying that you are the person who is listed, because you can get a bogus license, you get a thing to demand. picture and look too nice. So you can't differentiate the picture on the license and the individual. So you ask him, what's your name? And if you can't tell him your name as on the license, you run into trouble. The police needs to verify what's your address, right? Because you are agreeable that your address might change, but you have got to satisfy the police that you are the person, you are the bearer, you're the official and bearer of that license. So y'all don't make the mistake. Police ask you to present your license, you ought to present it, you ought to have it on you to present. People talk about discussion, yes, and even the article they talk, you flash it on your phone, so you show them it on your phone. Walk with your license. What is wrong with having a license and presenting your license to the police? As I've said, the police is not, or the police are not authorized to take it away. They look at it, examine it for whatever reason, and then they return it to you. This can't tell you, well, drive to the police station. That is something that the administration of the force should deal with, because a lot of people complain, police tell you, drive to the station. What are you driving to the station for? If you have committed an offense, a ticketable offense, give you the ticket, and let you get on your way, but drive to the station and drive to the station. That is something that should be strongly discouraged by the administration of the force. You have to have your driver's license on you at all times. The only document you're allowed 72 hours to produce, 72 or 5 days, I can't remember, 5 days I think, is the certificate of insurance for the motor vehicle. You don't have to necessarily have that with you. Police can, I mean, we went through this already. Police can tell you insurance to produce, right? And then we say that you can produce at any police station of your choice. So if you are stopped, let's say on the East Coast, where you live on the quarantine, and you're asked to produce your certificate of insurance for any reason, you can say, look, I live at Springlands, I can produce it at Springlands police station at a particular time. Because as I know it, back in the day, all those police stations will have what we call a production book, where when it is produced, then they transmit the necessary information to the station involved. So be aware that you have to have your driver, you should be having your driver's license on you at all time. Flash it in on your phone. If the police decide they're not accepting that, tough luck for you. Tough luck. Have your license to present to them. And I know why people want to flash it, because if you flash it, it prevents the police from carrying away your license. But then police want to make sure that he doesn't use any discretion. I don't know. Hold on, somebody calling me. I don't know if cut off this phone. Yes, you don't want, if you doesn't want to use a discussion, then you'll find yourself in little grief. So have your driver's license on you to produce it. You have a legal requirement, right? We need to do that. Somebody well, I just spoke about that. Police taking a license and ask to drive to the police station. That is wrong. That is not keeping with the protocol. Police should not take a person's license under those circumstances and tell them to drive to the police station, right? So, and hold on to the people's license, because then allegations are made that many times they do that to put pressure, and then demands are made. So that's what I'm saying. The administration of the force should come down heavily on those ranks who are involved in that practice, taking a man license and tell you drive to the station and so on. It is wrong. It is wrong. Yes, you are required to present the license. Man, examine the license, you should return the license to you there and then. If you committed an offense, ticketable offense, should give you a ticket. Don't tell you what drive to the station, then when you get there, long, because the lawyers, one lawyer from the Attorney General's chamber addressed that issue extensively in a thing that we read some time ago. Chevy Devonish, he said it's illegal. You're detaining the person unnecessarily. When you stop the man and the man can't move, you have restrained that person from his liberty. And once, as the lawyer who at the time operates out of the Attorney General's chamber said that once people go to court, once people challenge it as being unlawful, they win. They win, because you don't, the policemen the policemen do not have the authority to tell you, well, park in the corner, hold on there, wait. You wait. It's detain you unlawfully. And maybe at some stage I'll read back what the lawyer said in that matter. And then there's a famous case where we say that the police should have made that standard reading and case study in the training. And I'm referring to the case of the current acting Chief Justice versus, I think it was the Commissioner of Police and the Attorney General, where he was detained unlawfully. And Justice William Ramlal wrote in that matter extensively to explain what are the powers of the police in such matter. It is there for people to read. It is there. Man, it was a lawyer then detained, stopped on without any reasonable suspicion. They just stop it. And then when they ask you, identification is alleged that police pull out gun, this is the identification, and all those type of things. And then he's taking, the thing escalate, he gone into, taken to breakdown, latch the car. Look, the ruling is there. And we explained it on several occasions before in this program. And maybe at some later time, we will do that again. But that is what they talk about, the powers of police. So if you want to know powers of police to stop in those circumstances, Justice William Ramlal ruling in the case of attorney, as he was then, Navinder Singh, who is now the acting Chief Justice, versus the Attorney General. And you have the case, you have a lecture done, or a presentation done by Attorney Chevy Devonish at some police, I think it was Traffic Week or something like that, to tell the police what the powers are in respect of those matters. Let me bring in CC to have his say in that, and then we're going to move on. Yeah, CC. Yeah, go ahead.
And they could look at Section 18 of the Police Act, talk proposed to stop, search, and detain, and they talk about reasonable suspicion. Perhaps we need to go back over the Justice Ramlal's ruling, you know, because it's very important, it's critical. And police still collecting people's driver license and go to the station. It's happening on a daily basis. And you know, that and then when you collect my driver's license and you tell me to drive to the station, I'm driving, I'm breaching the law because the law said I must get my driver license permit. But lo and behold, the police gone with my driver license. And just to backtrack a bit, you know, in terms of suspension of driver license, there's another offense, you know, when they charge people with motor manslaughter, which was recently enacted. Motor manslaughter, your driver's license could be suspended pending the outcome of that matter. But yes, they need to look on the conduct of the police, particularly the traffic men on the road. They collect your driver license, say, come to the station and all kind of nonsense, you know. And as you rightly mentioned too, that you can't pick up your phone and say, hey, this is my driver license. You have to get it physically and on demand by the police. You have to produce it.
Yeah. Continue to share. We don't walk it up. We don't get it warm up. Continue to share. You know, news source Gordon Mosley. Big up Gordon. Every morning he asks what they call question of the day. And this is the question of the day for today. Do you think the police have been doing a good job at building better relations with the public? I want to hear your comments. I want the students to comment. Share. I want you to comment, right? Because this is something that we have been commending to the police. You want to know how well you're doing? Look at what the public says. And when I read this morning, I look at the comments. And the comments, I don't think I read a favorable comment. At the time when I read comments, they had 100 and something. Not a single favorable comment in terms of how the police, the question asks, whether they're doing building relations with the public. Not a single comment. And therefore, as we said, that is, I mean, this is not scientific when you look at the comments and so on. It is not scientific, but it gives you an idea of what the public, or at least those who respond, think about how the police are what type of relationship the police have with the public. Gives you an idea. And we have said repeatedly that it's something like this. They got to get more scientific now, where the police will use science to gauge the reaction of the public to many issues. How well they are doing. They talk about crime down, whether people feel the impact of, as they claim, reduced crime. Those are the type of surveys you have to do, right? Those are the type of surveys. But they sit down there and they're not doing these things. And as CC has indicated repeatedly, you have a lot of people who we are told are graduates, are graduated from the University of Guyana and other institutions with master's degree and bachelor's degree and all type of degree. I would think that these people might be capable of conducting surveys, or if they're not capable, employ professionals to conduct surveys to know how you are going, because that is what is going to, or what should determine your policies and your procedures and so on going forward. That is what should happen, right? But no, that is not happening. That is not happening, and that is part of the issue, right? That is part of the issue. Let me bring in CC. You might want to comment on that, and then we're gonna move on to another issue. Let me bring him in now.
So,
CC?
yeah, so Robert Peel, the father of modern day policing, and he talk about principles, fundamental principles on which the police force rests. And one is the police should strive to maintain a relationship with the public that gives reality to the tradition. The police are the public and the public are the police. That you have a public to serve, and you got to stick a moment. You have to go to the people who you swore to serve and protect, to find out how well you are doing. And yes, I said, they got plenty of people with degrees, first degree, master's degree, and here, like, they got people with doctorate. Do the research. Go to the public and find out how well you are doing. That's how you measure your performance. Go to them, do citizen survey, and at the same time you're building relationship with the public. You said the police are the public and the public the police, according to Sir Robert Peel. Do citizens surveys and do it regularly. That's how you would know how well you do. Not just say you're giving us crime stats, bogus crime stats. You're ghosting. You're only talking about 11 crime stats. And you think 11 crime stats you're talking about. Now, let me read them. They're looking at robbery. Robbery under arms. Robbery where guns are used. Robbery with aggravation. Robbery with violence. Robbery in itself. Larceny from the person. Burglary. Kidnapping. Rape. Break and enter larceny. And larceny. 11 you're doing. I think of the 11 you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are robberies. The various categories of robbery. Yeah, them is what you did. They're checking and saying crime down, crime and down when the public is living in perpetual fear of crime, perpetual crime, and according to them, attempt murder is not a criminal offense. It's not crime statute. I don't think. Manslaughter, felonious wounding. Let me mention a couple. Apart from rape, other offenses under the Sexual Offense Act 2010. Drug trafficking is not a criminal, is not a crime statute that they're looking at. We have 4 point too much tons of cocaine at Matthews Ridge. Yeah, cultivation of cannabis is not a start they're looking at. And when we have in the Borbis River and elsewhere, where millions and millions and millions of dollars being thing there, possession of arms and ammunition is not a start they're looking at. Domestic violence, they're not looking at that. But they get 11 that Larry Lewis started over 30 years ago, and they have not changed it. They're looking at that and say, hey, crime done, and thing. The thing is, go to the public, go to your customer, and find out how well you are doing. Look at, use your own people. If you don't want to use your own people, people might say you're biased. Hire persons. They have competent persons who could look at it. And there's a good topic that Garden, asks. So the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, do you think that the police have been doing a good job at building better relations with the public? Well, if they were doing a good job, the president now to pull them in and say, hey, you're not communicating with the public. That you got to communicate with the public. You got to deal with them, go to them. Don't mind how painful it is. It might tell you about your strengths and your weaknesses. It might give you an idea of areas of improvement. It might be able to tell you, hey, that look, you're not doing well here. You got to focus in other areas and them kind of thing. Though. Go into the community and do community surveys. That will tell you how well you are doing. Not putting also the people on the road. Not waiting Christmas time and say you're doing Christmas policing from the 15th of November to the 15th of January. And by the way, they had Christmas policing and we hear no word of it. Did they do any evaluation to see whether it's effective or is one thing all the time? Put up a whole post, say, put me up on the street and asking, is it effective? And this kind of thing. So much that they need to do. And the bottom line is saying, go to your customers. You swore to serve and protect the people. Go and find out from them how well you're doing or how badly you're doing and take the necessary steps to improve the situation.
Good recommendation. But again, what will happen? They will not listen to the message. They will concentrate on the messenger. And therefore, that is the issue. That is part of the problem. Now, I just saw a very disturbing release, which I have to bring to your attention. We want to bring these things as they occur, I think this one can leave for the next day. Travis Chase is reporting breaking news. HGP Nightly News saying licensed firearm discovered in a bag of primary school student. A licensed firearm was discovered in a bag of a primary school student. Here it says, police have launched an investigation after licensed firearm and ammunition were discovered in a grade 5 classroom at a Georgetown primary school on Monday. This happened on Monday. The incident occurred at St. Agnes Primary School on Church Street, South Cummingsburg, shortly after 13 hours. According to reports reaching Nightly News, a teacher was conducting a class when a student requested permission to leave the classroom to use the washroom. A short while later, the student returned accompanied by another teacher who reported that the child had heard a clicking sound coming from a desk where another student was seated. The teacher reportedly questioned the student about the sound, but the child denied hearing anything unusual. A search was then conducted on the student's haversack, but nothing suspicious was initially found. Moments later, however, another student reportedly discovered a firearm beneath the desk and handed it over to the teacher. The teacher immediately secured the weapon and contacted the police. Ranks from the Guyana Police Force, including officers from the Alberton Police Station, later visited the school and took possession of the firearm. Sources confirm that the weapon is a Taurus 9mm pistol, along with a magazine containing 11 rounds of ammunition. The firearm ammunition were subsequently taken to the Alberton Police Station, where they were marked, sealed, and lodged as evidence. Investigators later learned that the firearm is legally licensed to a 40-year-old manager attached to the Guyana Power and Light Company. According to the licensed owner, he discovered the firearm missing. Discovered the firearm was missing from inside a safe on the afternoon of March 8th, and had searched the home with relatives, but was unable to locate it. During questioning, the student reportedly told investigators that the firearm had been handed to him earlier by a 14-year-old relative who allegedly asked that it be placed in a vehicle belonging to a family member. Instead, the child reportedly placed the weapon in his haversack and later took it to the school the following morning. Sources also told Nice News that the student had previously expressed anger towards a teacher and another student and had allegedly made threats of violence in the past. The firearm and ammunition remain in police custody as investigators continue to gather statements and determine how the weapon ended up inside the classroom. Now, let me tell you this. Let me say this. This weapon is registered to some 40-year-old no-name man. From the time the investigation started, part of the investigation is for him to be issued with a letter, for him to show cause why the firearm, the license in respect to the firearm should not be revoked. He should never, ever see that or any other firearm again. I see latching in a safe. You put how we come out the safe. The firearm get qualities like the cocaine at the police, can turn into flour or just get up and walk. Yes, an investigation has to be done to determine who in the classroom had this firearm, one, because if it is that, this should not be difficult, because once you identify the owner, who has access to the home where this firearm was kept? Who? Can't be all the students. So right away you're narrowing down who are the people should be involved. And based on what we're hearing, everybody handle the gun. So fingerprint is ballistic, or we say forensic evidence. No, they don't think about that. I'm blaming the teacher because he find it, yes. I find police teacher and trained in forensic science, but fingerprint would be critical in this case. But I'm saying that the owner, 40-year-old man from GPL, you ain't got no name, you ain't mention no name, he should never, ever be made to hold a firearm again. And chances are, depending on the connection, you're going to hear all sorts of salawala, and you get back the gun, you get back some other gun. But having regards to what happens elsewhere, in the US in particular, all this mass shooting in school and so on, why would this student take this firearm with 11 rounds, 9mm pistol to school? Man say he discovered it in 8. Today is, well, this thing happened the Monday this year. Did he make a report to the police? Did the licensed owner of the firearm make a report to the police about his missing firearm? I doubt whether he didn't do that. He didn't do that. And as I've said on this program before, I hope they say my mouth get black tongue or what. I talk about the courts, both the High Court and the Magistrate Court, where the security is very, very lax. Nobody checks the firearm and these things. You got some cursory check. Nobody does any, no one does any proper checks. Now here we have a student ending up in the classroom with a 9mm pistol with ammunition. Are you continue taking things lightly? Are you continue? You see, when you follow the news in the US, I am reminded of a saying by the late great Lyndon Forbes, one of them said, Inter Beniba, make Kwashiba take notice. Inter Beniba, make Kwashiba take notice. And somebody had asked me some time ago to explain. Basically, when you see something happening, this is my interpretation. You see something happening there, you get a hint that something happening there. You, that is Beniba, you, Kwashiba, take notice. Don't wait for it to happen. Tell yourself it can happen by you, and therefore put arrangements in place to make sure it can happen. Inter Beniba, make Kwashiba take notice. People in school, a primary school, with gun, loaded gun, y'all carry on smartly. Let me bring in CC. CC, what you think? This man should continue to own this firearm?
Never. But first thing, I would investigate how he get a firearm. That's the first thing I investigate. Did he get it at Chief Chanjapal Drive? Did he get it Young Street? Did he get it from a house in Rob Street, a building northwest of the burnt out police station at Brigade, a house in Rob Street, a medical doctor in Lama Street? Or did he go up to Ivlery and pay 2 point something or thereabout or 4 million and get it? Did he apply in writing? Did the firearm report go to Brigade, go to the firearm board? Well, I ain't get no firearm board now. Near you don't get firearm board. Or how did he get it? That is the critical question you gotta ask. How he obtained his firearm license? And I'm saying, like you, by now you should done right and ask and state reasons why the license should not be revoked. He should never go no gun in anywhere. That is what I want to say.
Yeah, and people have said the thing here. Dennis has asked how we get the license. And I you know what's going on, right? If they ask if the owner of the license qualified, what qualifies you? Once you get once you get the Granger, once you can pay. That is the allegation. Once you can pay. Remember the businessman across the river complained on social media. They're arrested for cybercrime because he related his experience about trying to get a firearm license. People tell you got to pay between $2 to $4 million. Yeah, that's what is going on. They charge you with cybercrime, right? Thankfully, at the end of the day, the DPP intervened belatedly, I would say, after a month for discontinued proceeding. There was never a case in the first place, right? Never a case in the first place. As we say, this man, again, looking at the states, only recently we talk about a case where I think a parent, you'll get the gist of it, I'm not sure I got all the facts around, gave some child a firearm as a gift. The person to whom this firearm was gifted shoot up some school, kill people. The father who gave the thing, the man charged for manslaughter or something like that. Father was charged. So this man who owns this firearm and this school child, primary school child, get access to it. Criminal negligence. Criminal negligence. Right? The mere fact that he's the owner of the firearm and this firearm ended up in the possession of a primary school child in the school, he should be charged criminally. They find some charge. They found the charge name anonymity of complaint to give me. Find something because there's something on the book that with that level of negligence ought to be dealt with. Level of negligence. Now let me go. I got so many other issues to talk about, but let me deal with this one. Yes. The question is asked by somebody. Can a magistrate disqualify a person from driving all classes of vehicle? He can do that. The law allows him whatever classes the driver has on his license. The magistrate can disqualify you from driving all of those classes, and the magistrate can also disqualify you from driving the class of vehicle that you were involved in the accident with. In this case, it seems that we referenced earlier, it seemed that the man was involved in the accident with a truck, and based on what is being reported, the magistrate disqualified him from driving truck. So if you get car or any other category of vehicle on the license, it is suggested here that he should be able to drive those other categories. So let me understand it. The thing, yeah, right now. So let me move on. Because if we stay with this here, we haven't done this morning, and I want to deal with this issue. We're talking here yesterday, March the 10th, was the anniversary of the death of Courtney Cromway. Courtney Cromway, let me put up the picture. Courtney Cromway, former member of the Guyana Defense Force, right? You see here, protesting. He was shot and killed on the evening of March the 10th as he was in Diamond protesting. That was just before the election in March. Remember, elections were held in April. I think Courtney was April or May whenever the elections were held, protesting, calling people to vote out the PPP. Before that, he staged a one-man protest in Carmichael Street outside the office of the Attorney General, where he was calling for the Attorney General to resign or be fired over some statements he allegedly made. The Attorney General allegedly made. He was there every day. Courtney used to be there protesting. And then closer to the elections, he moved to Diamond when somebody in a car drove up and they shot and they killed him. Now, subsequently, something Rodriguez called Gray Boy was charged with the murder, but it was always felt. The matter was dismissed. The charge was dismissed against Gray Boy because it was always felt that even that the murder was politically motivated. The assassination, right? The assassination was political. It was always felt, as we say, he used to protest in front of the Attorney General's chamber. Of course, the Attorney General came out later on with a statement saying that he was not in no way involved and all of that. He came out with a statement. Gray Boy was arrested. Gray Boy was charged. But then it was always felt that even if Gray Boy was the man who pulled the trigger, they would have been intellectual authors, people who arrange, people who conspire for Cromway to be killed. We could recall in this matter, the current minister, Kwame McCoy, was arrested by the police as a suspect in this matter. He was arrested as a suspect in the murder of Courtney Cromway. He wasn't charged, but he was a suspect. We have Regan Rodriguez, Carl Grayby was charged. The matter was dismissed. But as we said, every time Dick Biari and Lal Biari would say, because that Grayby, even if he was the man who pulled the trigger, he was not the intellectual author. Because when you have a murder, one of the things we are taught as policemen, you look for motive. You look for motive. And it is said that Grayby had no motive to kill Cromway. So if it is whoever the trigger man was, might have been paid, the thing might have been orchestrated. And here what the report said, I can read part of the report that in Stabrook News on March 11, 2015. Walking the streets of Diamond Housing Scheme, East Bank Demerara last night, urging residents to go and vote on May the 11th. A political activist, Courtney Cromway, was shot dead execution style. The car-borne gunmen escaped. They said gunmen. The 40-year-old man who had staged a one-man protest outside the office of the Attorney General Anil Nandalal, calling for him to resign, was shot several times to his body and left dead on 3rd Street, Diamond, shortly before 8 p.m. It was the first evening he was galvanizing residents of his community to vote. Residents said that they had heard Cromway on his bullhorn from about 7 p.m. last evening, urging voters not to stay at home, come out May 11th, and take to the polls to oust the incumbent PPP government. They said that before 1 hour had elapsed, gunshots were heard, and the former soldier lay dead in a desolate area at the intersection of 3rd and Back Street, Diamond. Quote here, I heard him earlier in the night. He was saying that everyone who was eligible to vote should exercise their franchise and throughout this corrupt government, lest they suffer another 5 years. End of quote. One resident told Stabrook News. Another quote here, he passed me again as I stood chatting with a friend in Todd Street, and I even turned to say, this man really ain't got nothing to do. You mean this night? End of quote. We continued talking, and about 10 minutes after we heard about 5 shots, one first, and then the 4 in rapid succession. It came from a low caliber gun, maybe a pistol, but looking up the road, we couldn't see anything, the man said. He said not 5 minutes had elapsed before he saw a police pickup speed through the street and realized that someone was probably shot. However, it was not until they went in the direction of the police and the shooting that they realized that it was Conway who was killed. Another resident who lives a short distance from where the shooting occurred and who was walking in front of Conway on her way home said that the shooting seemed mysterious, as she was quite sure no vehicle passed them in Todd Street. And then they go on to tell you all of this, the different excuse me, different account. And then they go on to say, Conway protested for several weeks last year for Nandalal to quit over the contents of a phone conversation he had with a reporter of Kaichor News. The police last night said about 20 hours yesterday, Conway, 40 years old of Grove, East Bank, Demerara, was walking along the road in Todd Street, Diamond, East Bank, when a car with 4 men drove up, from which shots were discharged at him, after which the men escaped. Conway was hit in the body and was taken to the Diamond Diagnostic Center where he was pronounced dead on arrival. It said that investigations are in progress. The Ministry of Home Affairs issued the following statement on the killing. Quoting Conway during a one-man protest outside the Attorney General's chamber, the Ministry of Home Affairs condemns in the strongest possible terms the shooting to death of Courtney Conway by unknown person or persons this evening in the Grove Diamond area, East Bank, Demerara. The Minister of Home Affairs has given orders to the Commissioner of Police to take immediate action with a view to getting to the bottom of this execution-style shooting. Though the most through the most thorough investigation. Though it is early yet to draw any specific conclusion or motive in connection with the perpetration of this dastardly act, the Ministry of Home Affairs wishes to alert the general public to be vigilant in respect of any act of violence, provoked or unprovoked, that might be possibly initiated by those who may have a political agenda. The ministry notes the deep coincidence between the fatal shooting incident and the earlier swearing in of a new commissioner of police, right? And then they go on, the ministry extends sympathy to family and relatives of the Conway and pledges the support of the police in their investigation. So, Court Igring was executed. And they said the car had about 4 men. That's what they really said. And the only person who was charged was Grey Boy. Regan Rodriguez called Grey Boy. Only person. And of course, as we said, the matter went out. And then Kwame McCoy, the current minister, was arrested as a suspect, has been somehow involved, either principal in the first degree or some other act or accessory. He was arrested and questioned in relation to that matter. And what happened? This is when 2015. So it's 11 years ago yesterday that this man was thing. And then he talked about the swearing in. Who would have been the man there, Patrick, for 2015? 2015, just before, who would have been sworn in as commissioner? I tried to remember. I can't remember. Because would it have been Brummel? I can't. CC, can you? Who would have been the person that sworn in as commissioner of police?
I can't remember. I can't remember who was.
But 2015, but I can't remember who the person was, right? Because I know 2018, it was Leslie James. The person before Leslie James was Silal Prasad. So I don't know. Prasad. Somebody saying it have to be Prasad. Yeah, Silal Prasad. So I don't know what link they're making between the training of the new commissioner, Silal Prasad, and this Courtney Cumming murder. But you know, God don't sleep. God don't sleep. And he knows who the perpetrators are. And I use in plural because not one man. They themselves said in the release that there were several persons in this car that fired shot at this man. And you know, they just used it to threaten me. They sit down at the bar on the East Coast and they say Slow got to be a next coming wing. In other words, they are threatening. Well, hey, let me tell you something. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I have to die someday. I know that. I am not suicidal. So anytime I hear they say I drink poison or I jump in front of the car, they lie. I just tell the people if that is the only way to go, I will be the last man standing. Right? But Courtney Cumming, I met him on a few occasions, assassinated on the 10th of March, 2015. Assassinated. And that remains unsolved. It remains unsolved. One of the high-profile crimes that remains unsolved. And as we have said repeatedly, police tell what clear-up rate. What is clear-up rate? An incident or a crime committed, you arrest somebody, you clear it up. But don't tell me about clear-up rate. We want to know about conviction rate. Because you clear up in many cases by picking up the usual suspects. And then what happens then? Once you think that they got a court, the matter gone. But your records will show it clear up. But let me hear about conviction. How many of those matters you lead to successful conviction? Yeah, the assassination, somebody remind us here of Waddle. During the PPP administration, Waddle, I think Waddle was 2004, I think it was, right? Assassinated outside his home. And the evidence of that assassination came out in a court in the US. What has happened? What has happened? I said, God ain't sleeping, you know. God ain't sleeping. His time is the right time. Many of the time, us mortals, so God, like nothing gonna happen to them. Have faith. Have faith. Right? You see enough of them who hold in Bible and telling lies. You see what happened to them? They're falling out. Some of them suffering, telling lies on people. Right? Hold on. Time longer than time. Let me bring in CC and then we get another matter we want to touch on before we bow out. CC, Courtney Cumming more than 11 years ago.
I remember Courtney Cumming, you know. I remember talking to him while he was protesting at the Attorney General's office. And his murder, assassination was political. And they had to be, he had to be intellectual authors. Had to be. That he was assassinated for protesting or for encouraging people to vote and to vote out the PPP, you know. Clear case of assassination. And then I'm not making any link, you know. I just want to mention something in passing. I remember shortly after, sometime after, they had a man who was providing security at the Attorney General's office. And allegations are that he used his firearm to commit suicide. Circumstances not clear. Some people say he was murdered, but the fact is that he died, and he died there. I am not, I repeat it myself, making any link, but I feel I should mention that in passing. I should mention that in passing, and you decide what you want to decide.
Then I'm reminded too that one Rajpal or Rajput Narayan, who was said to be a bodyguard, I think it was, of the Attorney General. He too was arrested as a suspect in this matter. And again, the Attorney General did come out and say he didn't know. He said he didn't employ this man as a bodyguard, but he didn't know much about him because he was recommended. I think the man used to work at the GRA at some stage, and he was recommended. So he employed a bodyguard based on a recommendation without doing any proper background checks and so on. And then he said when he discovered this man was giving out information on him and his location, he fired him sometime after. But Rajput Narayan was also a suspect in this murder of Courtney Kamering, who was assassinated on the 10th of March, right, 2015, as he was protesting. And prior to that, he staged a one-man protest outside the office of the Attorney General. That was in Carmichael Street. He used to be there with his placard. He was interviewed and all of that. And again, he was calling on the Attorney General to resign because there was a voice note or a tape going around, allegedly made by the Attorney General, which he used a lot of expletives and he threatened Kaichor News and all. Of course, he denied that the voice was his. And no investigation was done because to determine whether or not the voice was his would have been very easy. There's no big set of investigation. Very easy to have determined whose voice it was. So yes, so Courtney, I don't know, we can say that you're resting in peace because if the way they took you out, I don't believe you can rest in peace until the perpetrators have been brought to justice. At least until the perpetrators have been brought to justice. So my condolences again to the family, because I remember the mother and the father approaching me and talking about this matter and think God is in charge. God is in charge. Now the matter that I want to close with this afternoon or this morning, it's the afternoon, is one that is circulating all around. I'm referring to this issue with the Cuban doctors or the Cuban medical brigade. Anybody in Guyana and the Caribbean know about the Cuban medical brigade? The Cubans came to Guyana and elsewhere, they went elsewhere during our needs, and they performed excellently. All the hospitals around the country, the Cuban medical brigade used to be there giving you treatment and all of that, right? They were a fixture in the medical area in Guyana, everywhere. Now, you know, recently, the U.S. is said to have brought pressure to bear on countries who have these Cubans, because they are said to be ratcheting up the pressure in Cuba, and as for changes to be made, right? They're ratcheting up the pressure. I think they have stopped oil from Venezuela to go there, and they claim that this Cuban medical brigade was part of human trafficking, where they come to work and the money have to go to the government. A lot of allegations were made. But no one can deny that the Cuban medical brigade gave us a great service. Great service. Only recently, our president, during an interview with Fox News in the US, talks about the status quo in Cuba should not be maintained. He talked about democracy being restored to Cuba and all sort of thing. All sort of thing the president said. But you know, when you listen to the president, I am reminded about Vibes Cartel. When you listen to the president.
Ungrateful. A flow of me need, me no need you. Oxygen me breathe you. Cause me notice you a carry belly for me. Like a me make chances reach you. Ungrateful, dog yam dirty pudding. You still breathe, you say you wouldn't. No try hype, you really shouldn't. Cause you no name, Felice I wouldn't. Stop chat people, I would.
Yeah, we can only be described as being ungrateful. The way how those Cubans are treated. And I saw a statement attributed to the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, that is the Cubans decided to pull out. That we did not, the Guyana government did not terminate them, they decided to pull out. But you know, contrast that or compare that, whatever you want to do, with a statement from the Barbados Prime Minister, Mia Mottley. Listen to how she addressed that same issue.
This matter with the Cubans And the nurses should tell us everything that we need to know. Barbados does not currently have Cuban medical staff or Cuban nurses, but I will be the first to go to the line and to tell you that we could not get through the pandemic without the Cuban nurses and the Cuban doctors. I will also be the first to tell you that we paid them the same thing that we pay Bajans, and that the notion, as was peddled not just by this government in the US, but the previous government, that we were involved in human trafficking by engaging with the Cuban nurses was fully repudiated and rejected by us. Now, I don't believe that we have to shout across the seas, but I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it. But what matters to us is principles. And I have said over and over that principles only mean something when it is inconvenient to stand by it. Now, we don't have to shout, but we can be resolute. And I therefore look forward to standing with my CARICOM brothers. I wish I could say brothers and sisters, but brothers.
Ghana has formally ended its bilateral medical cooperation agreement with Cuba, a move Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says reflects changing circumstances rather than external pressure.
Ungrateful doggy dirty pudding. You see how the matter is handled just across the river there in just because in Barbados? The Barbados Prime Minister, say what you want, stood up. She made it clear, it's a time of principle. And she's saying that if she has to lose her US visa for standing for principle, so be it. What about other leaders in the region? What have they done? They run, cover, they're frightened to lose their visa. Well, many of them, let me say this, many of them can't stand up because many of them have compromised. US maybe get things on them. They can't stand up and talk. Can't stand up, but she showed spine. When you have the male in the region, many of them get no balls, right? But Mia Motley, madam, congratulations to you on the stand in this matter. Stand. Because the guy can say the same thing. Had it not been for those Cubans over the years, I don't know where we would have been. And not only the doctors who come to Ghana and nurses who come to Ghana and work, but scholarships. Many of our doctors, the local doctors, are trained in Cuba. Many are trained in Cuba. Not only doctors, other professions as well, trained in Cuba. But I guess little pressure brought to bear, and we forget all the good that was done, and we're talking now about the status quo in Cuba should not be allowed to maintain, and we're talking about change what they call them, some type of change. All of that you're hearing being talking about now. All of that, right? Change of regime change and all kind of thing we are hearing now. Yeah? All kind of thing we're hearing, our regime change and so on. But it is sad. It is sad how we treated or how we are treating the Cubans who came to our assistance when we were in need. Cece, I'm sure you want to say something about it. Every Guyanese of our age and even younger and older can relate to the fact that the Cubans in Guyana, that medical brigade, did an excellent job. Go ahead, my brother.
So true, I travel and I work all over the country. And at the health facilities all over this country, you had Cuban doctors, Cuban nurses, Cuban technicians giving us excellent service. Yes, sometimes they had a little language barrier, but they were always there to give us things there. And I agree with Mia Motley. I can't say she get balls, but she get backbone. She get backbone. She got principle, and she stand up for those principles. Not only now, all along the line, you listen to her, her action, and she's not afraid of the people from outside forces. I agree with her, you know. And then plenty Guyanese went to Cuba and study, not only in the medical field, and plenty Guyanese paid the supreme price. Remember the Cuban disaster? When Guyanese were going to Cuba and they blew up a aircraft off the coast of Barbados, you know. So we should be grateful for the work done by the Cuban people, you know, health service and other areas. And I listened to the minister trying to get a tip, you know, where ministers had said that we terminated the contract. You say we, and now he backtracking and saying that the Cuban thing. I gotta find the tape or read it somewhere along there. I read somewhere along there. He say we. So many of the we mean Cubans or the we mean Guyanese. But he later said that that the Cubans terminated the thing there. Lies and still more lies.
You know, many times Mia refers to our president as our friend. I hope she had, maybe now it's too late. Talk to our friend and tell him to grow some backbone, grow little balls, man. You could have go by critic and borrow some. There's a critic get balls, he can learn a whole set of people. Man get more balls than a billiard stable, man. Right? Can borrow some balls. But it is sad to see that relationship with the Cubans come to them. I know about the politics. Like I said, human trafficking and all kind of thing. I don't know how true it is, what evidence would have been provided to support that contention. But it is sad the way in which it is done. It appears to me that pressure was brought to bear, as we have seen. This is not no secret. It is there for all to see that pressure is being levied to disconnect with Cuba. That clear. Statements have been made about that. Statements are being made about that. So our people, and you know, as we said before, as we try to wind up, when you are compromised, when people get the goods on you, right, then you have to make some decisions. You can't stand up for no principle, right? You can't, because as I've said, when you go back, all these allegations of corruption, Jack Dio allegation of corruption, the Minister of Natural Resources allegation, the President, allegations are there. Susan Rodriguez, Zulfikar Mustafa, a whole set of people allegation, serious allegation of corruption. Yeah? Now you investigate. You think the USN pull the things together? Quietly do some investigation? Like the Sugate thing. You think the minister, the US, analyze that to see, well, yeah, maybe get your behavioral science people to see the thing. This is what I'm talking about.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims.
You think the people and analyze them body language and all this everything and come to a conclusion? And when you know that they know what is the truth, you could stand up and say anything that you don't think they will find favor with. You think you could stand up? You can't, because once you only, they don't have to tell you anything, you know. The fact that you know, that they know, or that you suspect that they know about all the shenanigans, all the corruption, all the illegal activities, the fact that they know, you can't risk saying anything that would not be pleasing to them. You can't risk saying anything, and that is part of the problem because you're compromised. You're compromised, right? So there it goes. Let me bring in CC for his closing, and then we can bow out. CC, I'm sure you want to make some closing remarks. Please go ahead.
I might be a bit funny, Paul, as we wind down. You mentioned about your teacher who was a beat man, who used to bench people. I wonder if he had you whining, if he ever bench you, Paul.
Well, let me tell you, yes. I was a little worthless boy going to school. I always worthless, yeah. And DT used to teach a class that I attended. I can't remember which one thing and so on. And some weeks before, I was this BV government school, for people who remember BV government school. We wanted to go to the back at the home economics and the woodworking place. And rather than walking around, I decided I can climb the fence. The fence had barbed wire. And while going over the fence, the barbed wire tear my pants and rip apart of my buttocks. So it bled and so on. Right? So I had this mark. I think I still get the mark up to now. So a couple of weeks down the line, I do something in school and DT decided I got to get 6. The man put me over the bench, right? They would pull you in front, hold your pants, wax. He was a lash man, wax. After the second wax, there was a pause. There was an uneasy pause. And when I look around, I could see the man a little worried. And when I watched, I discovered that the cut that I had there before started to bleed. Well, DT became worried because he thought it was the lashes that he just gave me caused this bleeding. And of course, I carry on. So I'm going to complain, tell my father, he cut me and he lashed me and he cut me BT and so on, and take that. The man was very warm, the man trying to placate me and that. Me, I got him, after the 2 years, giving him a lash. But he wasn't the cause of that. But, so DT gave me 6. He attempted to give me 6. But after 2, the mission was aborted. So you see, I know we had that discussion before. So I tell you, yes, DT gave me 6. He was a man who used to beat in school. So and he's now, I learned from a fellow schoolmate that he died recently, and condolences to his bereaved family and so on. I met him some time ago in New York, and I introduced myself because when I saw the face look familiar after all them years, because I talked about since in the late 60s or mid to late 60s, I talked him. Yeah. See anything more you want to say? Let me give you the opportunity. Do you want to say anything more?
Nothing more. I close off here.
All right, good. Thank you. Have a good day, my brother. And let me end. I'll get the tune I got to play for y'all today, man. The older guys. Don't forget, for those of you who are in a position to make a contribution, here those are the numbers there. And I got one for y'all today, man. Ivor, I got one for y'all today. This is one that I always love. Here we go.
of them call him Uncle Tom. Uncle Sam and Uncle Tom, yes, they are the same man. Yes, they aim is steal away music. T-O-M-E-T for our music. The drum and the bass have to move me way. Lyrics and song have to keep me strong. Rhythm and skank have chop it down. Samuel Thomas, he might get bang. He might get a beating.
Steel Paul's life without music, man. They roller, what is the roller skates, roller blades, right? Samuel Thomas is the thief name. He must lead a life of shame. Some of them call him Uncle Sam. Some of them call him Uncle Tom. Uncle Sam and Uncle Tom. Guess it is the same man. Hey, music. I'll bring up the repertoire and entertain you all as we go along. Folks, we have had a good morning. We have had an excellent morning. I commend you. I thank you for the time you have taken to come and to be here with us. I hope that we were able to give you credible, valuable information. And I leave by telling you, I remember we always implore you, don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Corrales, despite his... Oh, there he goes. There goes Corrales. A sharp, accurate left hook to the face for Castillo. Will he get up?
6, 7, 8. Come to me. You all right? You want to continue? Okay, here we go. Time. Come here.
His mouthpiece was knocked out. He'll get a few extra seconds here.
Put it in.
Joe Goosen smartly, very slowly, putting it back in. It was a one-punch knockdown. Corrales in deep trouble, obviously.
He's in big trouble. I think he's done.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Come here. You all right? I'm the penalizer. Taking one point off. Time.
Now this is really becoming a huge round for Castillo. If the bell, he's taking a point away from Castillo, from Corrales, for spitting out the mouthpiece. For losing the mouthpiece twice.
He didn't even know what happened.
Here we go.
I think
this could be a 10-6 round then.
Could be.
He didn't know he dropped the mouthpiece. He didn't know it. Boy, Castillo looking to finish this thing up. Corrales, a desperate fighter, and a right hand for Corrales staggers Castillo. Oh my goodness. Can he survive this? A left hook, Castillo's staggered once again. Both fighters, but Castillo won't go down. He's never been down.
I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this.
Left hook from Corrales. Castillo's wobbly. Now here comes Corrales. Unbelievable!
Don't give up. Fight to the end. Don't give up. Fight to the end. Folks, again, we will see you again Friday afternoon. Remember, 4 o'clock, Guyana time, 4 o'clock, Eastern Standard Time. Gates for the schoolyard will open at 2 o'clock. Don't get mixed up, 2 o'clock. So God's Prayer Life will come again on Friday to bring you another episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Until then, we urge you to stay well, be safe. Bye.
Up comes Boslow and Mr. Clinton, Conway, speaking and exposing corruption each and every day. Guyanese, turn on your TV. what Parslow and Conway to say. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whole day we are calling for Parslow and Clinton Conway. They teach and educating, exposing the things in the system. We need a better Guyana for the little boys and the children poor. Slow and Clinton Conway.
All the money they invest, 2.2 billion.
Hear me when I sing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh.
And they would have gotten
Guyanese at home and abroad. Please log into Conway as wide as it can reach. Paul Slow, you always will preach. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like and share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so this message could reach as far, and every Guyanese will feel well. Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Paul Slow and Clinton Conway, Paul and Conway, every day.
all the money they invest, 2.2 billion of our money. That money could have been invested someplace. They have to
Do I pay issues?